Hi there, my name is Cecelia Mecca. My partner in crime, Bridgette Duplantis, is off working with authors. You won't hear a lot from her during the course, but she is there, really the driving force behind this bot course, because a few years ago, she at a social media conference tried to push me into bots, but at the time, I really didn't know a lot about them, and I tested them out, struggled a bit, and abandoned them pretty quickly. And I should have gotten on board back then, but finally I'm here, and I think you're going to be really excited to be here with me as well. Bridgette and I met in 2009 at a blog conference. We were both, today they would call them lifestyle bloggers. Back then, we used the term mom bloggers, and we both, for me, I always liked to write, and I'll show you her site, a scientist for the federal government, and her site called Experimental Mommy. She tests products and different things, and she's had this for over 10 years. So we met at a blog conference and decided to harness our audiences, work together, cross-promote, not unlike what we do in the author space. And very soon we had a group of bloggers, a network that brands wanted to tap into. And so over the years, in the last 10 years, we've worked with these brands and lots of others in what we call today influencer marketing. Back then, it didn't really have a name, but really it was partnering bloggers and brands to get their message out. So we worked together to create social media campaigns. These days, it's a lot of Facebook and Instagram, but when we started, Pinterest wasn't available, Instagram wasn't available, so we used whatever Twitter parties were big back then, a few years ago, and I think maybe even have their place now. But as the times evolved, as social media evolves, our job was to be on the forefront of whatever was happening in the social media world so that we could best serve our brands in terms of how the influencers might be able to help them. So I connect influencer management still today, connects brands and bloggers. We did have for about 6 years a conference called iRetreat, and it was a lot of fun, but a lot of work. Bridgette and I were both, neither of us were doing this full time, and so we decided after about 6 years to concentrate on the iConnect portion of our business. But iRetreat, I hope someday to get back to this conference planning experience, because we really had a lot of fun bringing our bloggers together with sponsors and brands that wanted to help showcase, what they had. We did hold it in New Orleans, that's where Bridgette's from, which made it a very easy conference to go and research and have a lot of fun with. So iRetreat, I think 1 year had our own second line parade. And before it was in New Orleans, we actually had it at a whole different space. We zip lined and did a lot of fun things. And I think the brands enjoyed being a completely integral part of that. So maybe someday we'll get back to that. But as of right now, we're not talking about conferences. We're talking about bots. But real quick about me, since 2017, I've been a full-time romance author. Before that, for 20 years, I was an educator, both in the classroom for 15 years as an English teacher, and then for the last 5 as a curriculum specialist in English language arts. I worked for an intermediate unit, which is kind of like the State Department of Education, and my job was to go into school districts and talk about reading and writing, what the current research said. I designed workshops, spoke to auditoriums of teachers, and in lots of ways, this is kind of coming home for me. I have a PhD in curriculum and instruction from Penn State University with a focus in language and literacy. So it kind of all came full circle. I'm not necessarily using all of those degrees in my medieval romance world, but I'm really glad to be bringing some of this curriculum and instruction to you in the form of book marketing with bots. I always knew in some way I would get back to teaching, but really when the bots presented themselves, and I knew for us, having seen a lot of social media kind of come and go and what sticks and what doesn't, I really had a good feeling about it and have seen it work both for me and for other authors. So I'm very excited to be bringing this course to you. Make sure that you join our VIP group. The link is in this first module, and that way we can talk to each other, you can ask questions, and we'll learn from each other and from other students taking the course just as much as you will from listening to me talk to you in the next few lessons. So let's get to that, and welcome again. Glad you're here.